specialty surgical oncology classes. Today, I am going to speak about ovarian cancer and as a model class. I am Dr. Umar Shankar and I am surgical oncologist. I did MCH from Tata Memorial, Mumbai. So, first of all, why ovarian cancer? What is the importance of ovarian cancer? So, ovarian cancer is the third most common cancer among Indian women. So there are SEER database and other structured databases for US and European countries. But for India, most of the data we use is from the National Cancer Registries. So among the data, this is the ovarian cancer is the third most common cancer affecting the Indian women. The other two being cervical cancer and the breast cancer. And among the many histological varieties of ovarian cancer, epithelial cancers are the most common. And usually, when you are dealing with ovarian cancer, we take fallopian tube malignancies, ovarian malignancies, and peritoneal malignancies as a single type of cancers because all of the three they behave similarly. And among the histologies, epithelial cancers is the most common. But ovarian cancer is a dreaded cancer. Why? Because of the two things. One is even at the initial diagnosis, over two-thirds of the patients they present with advanced disease. And the other thing is, among all the gynecological malignancies, ovarian cancer has the highest fatality to case ratio because of advanced stage of the presentation and because it may not respond very well to the therapies that are presently available. The case fatality rate is very high for ovarian cancer. And even from the surgical oncologist point of view, it is a major surgical challenge because this is one of the few cancers where the aim is to resect all the visible disease. Even when the disease is extensive, resecting the gross disease will increase the survival chances of the patient. So it is a major surgical challenge even from the surgical point of view. But when you are preparing in terms of entrance exam, there are important topics that are to be covered when we are preparing for MCQ. So these topics we will be covering when we take a regular class, which is a 2-hour class. So what are the topics that we tend to cover, and what are the topics from which the maximum number of multiple choice questions are asked? I will just highlight them. The first one is risk factors and risk reduction. This is a favorite topic for the examiner. And low parity and infertility is a risk factor for ovarian cancer. And there is a chemopreventive method that is available that OC pills, oral contraceptive pills can be used to reduce the risk of ovarian cancer in high risk individuals. So we can deal in detail later. The other thing, the most important is classification. Classification of ovarian tumors as such is important. So we will be discussing the classification based on the histology, based on the origin, cell of origin, and we will give you a comparative analysis of the non-malignant ovarian neoplasms, which are important from MCQ point of view. And the next one is assessing risk of malignancy. Why the risk of malignancy assessment is important when come to ovarian cancer, especially early ovarian cancer. When discussing the MCQs, I will highlight this point. But there are different risk analysis methods that are available, both clinical, serological, and based on algorithms and blood tests. So we should learn these things, and this is also a very important topic when it comes to MCQs. And the next one is diagnostic modalities. What are the cross-sectional imaging that we use for staging the tumor? And what are the points that we need to note when assessing the operability of disease and other tumor markers? So most of us know that CA-125 is the most important tumor marker ovarian cancer. So, but depending on the age of the patient, especially when the age of the patient is less than 40 years, we have to rule out germ cell tumors for which we order AFP, beta HCG, and LDH. And when we are suspecting Krukenberg, especially when there are bilateral ovarian tumors, we tend to do CE and CA99 to rule out the primaries, intestinal and hepatobiliary primaries. And in granulosa cell tumors, we use inhibin, which has a prognostic implication. We will deal these things when we are taking the regular classes. And the other important topic is staging laparotomy because the final staging of the tumor is done during laparotomy, and it should be done in a defined stepwise manner, which I will be dealing later. And then management. So then the other important topic for MCQs is screening. So because the mortality of the disease is high and the disease usually presents in advanced stage, when there is a good screening modality, we can identify the cancer in early stage, which may decrease the mortality. There are many screening methods that are evaluated for this, mainly CA-125 levels and transvaginal ultrasound. But till now, no screening modality and no combination of screening modalities have shown any mortality benefit. But there are newer algorithms that are being evaluated. So we will touch upon those things. And what is the role of prophylactic surgery, especially in familial syndromes? So the most common familial syndromes are BRCA1 and 2 for ovarian and Lynch syndrome, HNPCC. So what is the role of prophylactic surgery in these carriers and the patient, the family members of the BRCA positive patient? So these are the important topics and the last one is fertility preservation, especially localized disease involving single ovary in a young patient of childbearing age who is nulliparous. So what is the role of fertility preservation in this cancer? So all these points are important from MCQ point of view. So we have to be clear when preparing for MCQ exams. So we will be covering all these topics in detail in our regular classes. But here I will discuss important MCQs. So first question is, which of the following is not a component of surgical staging laparotomy in a case of suspected early stage ovarian cancer? So the options are peritoneal washings, omentectomy, total peritonectomy, hysterectomy, and bilateral salpingo-oophorectomy. So when we are evaluating a patient with suspected ovarian cancer, mainly we have to see whether it is early ovarian cancer or advanced ovarian cancer. The evaluation and the management differs between these two types of patients. So especially when dealing with early ovarian cancer, say that there is no ascites, there are no peritoneal deposits, omental disease, there is a large ovarian mass, which is a complex ovarian mass. So in this scenario, there is no role for invasive biopsy because invasive biopsy may upstage the tumor, and just because of invasive biopsy, we may end up giving adjuvant chemotherapy to these patients. So in early ovarian cancer, there is no role for invasive biopsy, and definitely cross-sectional imaging should be done. The aim is to know the burden of the disease, and if it is the only ovarian cyst, there is no other disease. The aim is to know whether it is a complex cyst or a simple cyst. And the third one is to know whether we can achieve optimal cytoreduction while attempting a surgery. The other one is tumor markers, as I have told, depending on the situation and age of the patient, we will go with the CA-125, AFP, beta HCG, and LDH, or CE and CA99 in bilateral tumors. And the most important is staging laparotomy. There are many steps of staging laparotomy. So a good staging laparotomy is mandatory to exactly stage the tumor, and especially in early disease, because if you are not giving adjuvant chemotherapy and your staging laparotomy is not good, we may miss higher stage disease, and this definitely affects the prognosis and survival of the patient. So how do we stage a patient with suspected ovarian cancer? So usually it is an open laparotomy with a vertical abdominal incision. Vertical incision because if we have any diaphragmatic or upper abdominal disease or pelvic disease, we can extend the incision from the xiphoid to the pubic symphysis. And we have to look for any free fluid that is present in the abdomen. If there is any free fluid, we have to aspirate and send it for cytology. When there is no free fluid, then you have to take peritoneal washings using 50 or 100 ml saline, and you have to send it for cytology. And this is one of the few cancers where cytology is included in the staging system. And then there should be systemic exploration of the abdomen. So we have to look at liver surface, all the peritoneal areas. We have to look at the small bowel mesentery, hepatoduodenal ligament, pouch of Douglas, and all the areas of the abdomen should be systematically explored. Any doubtful adhesion or any doubtful deposit should be taken for biopsy. So which is very important for staging. And then if it is a disease confined to a single ovary without any disease elsewhere, if possible, it should be removed and sent for frozen section. So if frozen section facility is not available, depending on the age of the patient, you can go ahead with total abdominal hysterectomy and bilateral salping oophorectomy and wait for the final histopathological report. And in the absence of any disease, we have to go for peritoneal biopsies. We have to take biopsies from the bilateral paracolic gutters, pouch of Douglas, the peritoneum that is covering the bladder, and we have to take scrapings or biopsies from bilateral domes of the diaphragm. And then we should do omentectomy, and usually supracholic or total omentectomy should be done. And then we have to open the retroperitoneal spaces and look for any enlarged pelvic lymph nodes or parietic lymph nodes. If there are any enlarged pelvic lymph nodes, they should be taken out and sent for biopsy. In case of early tumor confined to ovary without any enlarged pelvic lymph nodes, we should do systematic pelvic lymph node dissection and parietic lymph node sampling, because the presence of any positive lymph nodes will upstage the disease and is an indication for chemotherapy. So in early stage disease, there is a role for systematic pelvic lymph node dissection in these patients. So this constitutes the staging laparotomy, and depending on the final stage of the tumor, then we will decide regarding the adjuvant therapy of the patient. So in this particular MCQ, the wrong option is total peritonectomy. Total peritonectomy is used in advanced ovarian cancer to achieve complete or optimal cytoreduction as a part of complete or optimal cytoreduction, but it is not required in all early stage ovarian cancer as a part of regular staging laparotomy. So next, we are going to the question 2, and especially in oncology, definitely there will be good number of questions on staging. Staging of all the cancers is important, and there will be questions from the staging. So we should always remember the staging of all the cancers. So in this particular question, a serious adenocarcinoma of ovary involving single ovary without capsular involvement, without rupture, but final cytology showed malignant cells in the peritoneal washing. So what is the FIGO stage? So when it comes to staging system, gynecological cancers, I want to highlight one point. For most of the cancers, we use AJCC staging system, the present 8th edition. But even though there is TNM classification available for gynecological cancers, but we regularly follow FIGO even for MCQ point of view, and even in clinically when you are practicing for gynecological cancers, we use FIGO classification. So for all ovary, cervix, endometrium, and other gynecological cancers, we should learn FIGO classification. So coming to FIGO classification of the ovary, as I told, the classification is similar for ovary, fallopian tubes, and primary peritoneal cancer. So coming to this, the mainly stage 1 is limited to the ovary or fallopian tubes, either of these two things. So I will speak about the ovary. So growth limited to the ovary is stage 1. If it is single ovary without rupture, without capsular involvement, 1A. Bilateral ovary without rupture, without capsular involvement, 1B. Coming to 1C, it may be a controlled surgical spill, as in then it will be upgraded to C1. If there is rupture before surgery or involvement of the capsule, it is say C2. And when malignant cells are present in ascites or peritoneal washings, we take it as stage 1C3. Coming to stage 2, as when the disease is confined to the pelvis below the pelvic brim and it is confined to the uterus or fallopian tubes, then it is stage 2A. When it is there is extension into other pelvic tissues, it is stage 2B. Coming to the stage 3, either it is retroperitoneal lymph node involvement or histologically confirmed involvement of the peritoneum outside the pelvis. So it is again divided into 3A, 3B, and 3C. Coming to distant metastasis, here the peritoneal metastasis is not taken as distant metastasis. So all the peritoneal metastasis is grouped into stage C3. So if the pleural effusion, which is cytologically proved, it is taken as stage 4A, and all the parenchymal metastases are extra abdominal metastases like inguinal lymph nodes, other extra abdominal lymph nodes, it is taken as stage 4B. So here in this question, even if the disease is confined to the ovary, as there are malignant cells in the peritoneal washings, the stage we should take it as stage 1C3. Next question: after neoadjuvant chemotherapy, if surgery is performed in a case of proved ovarian cancer, what it is called? Primary cytoreduction, interval cytoreduction, secondary cytoreduction, none of the above. So the cytoreduction, the types of cytoreduction is also another important question, MCQ question, and it is favorite for many examiners. So cytoreduction can be divided based on two things: in relation to the chemotherapy and in relation to the extent of the cytoreduction. So when you take a upfront when you in an upfront case without any chemotherapy, if you can achieve a cytoreduction, it is called primary cytoreduction. But in view of extensive disease, so if the patient undergoes a neoadjuvant chemotherapy, cytoreduction after neoadjuvant chemotherapy is called interval cytoreduction. And any cytoreduction in a patient who already underwent the cytoreduction and now undergoing surgery for a recurrent ovarian cancer, it is considered secondary cytoreduction. And few people use the word tertiary cytoreduction for a second recurrence, but it is not commonly used. And depending on the extent of the cytoreduction, it is again divided into complete cytoreduction. So the goal is to achieve complete cytoreduction. The goal is not to achieve optimal; it's always to achieve complete cytoreduction, which means no grossly visible disease should be left after surgery. Only when it is not possible to achieve complete cytoreduction due to undue morbidity or extensive disease, then only optimal cytoreduction should be attempted, which means the residual disease should be less than 1 centimeter in maximum tumor diameter. So when the residual disease is more than 1 centimeter in tumor diameter, it is called suboptimal cytoreduction. And doing a suboptimal cytoreduction may not have any advantage, and it may not have any survival benefit. So in this particular question, after neoadjuvant chemotherapy, the surgery is performed, so it is called interval cytoreduction. Next, going to the next question, question 4. So it is a question based on the management of after primary cytoreduction. A patient with stage 1B low-grade serous ovarian cancer who underwent a optimal staging laparotomy. So what will be the next best step in the management of this patient? So options are adjuvant chemotherapy, observation, vaginal brachytherapy, or endocrine therapy. So this is an extensive topic. I will discuss here only briefly. So early ovarian cancer is divided into low risk and high risk. So low risk ovarian cancer is stage 1A, 1B, which is grade 1 and 2. And all stage 1C and grade 3 cancers are classified as high risk early ovarian cancers. And high risk ovarian cancers are definitive indication for adjuvant chemotherapy. And in this particular patient, because it is stage 1A and probably grade 1, so there is no role for adjuvant chemotherapy. The survival rates, 5-year survival is almost up to 95% without any adjuvant treatment. So here we can keep the patient under observation. So in the same patient, when if the disease is confined to single ovary, it is a low grade, grade 1 or grade 2 disease, and who is an nulliparous or who wants to preserve fertility. In this particular patient, after a thorough staging laparotomy, we can leave uterus and contralateral ovary. They can be preserved, and fertility preservation is possible. But once the childbearing age is over, or the patient had children, we have to complete the surgery. We have to go again and remove the uterus and the other ovary. And so here, the most appropriate treatment for this patient will be like, because it is stage 1B, low grade serous ovarian cancer, because the complete staging is done, we have to observe the patient. So today, my last question, because, and the other important thing, as I have told, in early ovarian cancer, as we are not going for invasive biopsy, it is very difficult to decide whether the ovarian mass is a malignant or benign. And to prevent unnecessary laparotomies and to triage the patients with pelvic masses or ovarian masses, there are multiple algorithms and multiple indices that are put forward. And every index or every algorithm has their own advantages and disadvantages, and they can be used only in a particular set of patients. So even these algorithms and these scores, they are commonly asked in MCQs. So here in this question, it is which of the following is a false statement regarding risk of ovarian malignancy algorithm, which is Roma. The options are: it uses CA-125, it uses HE4, can be used in ovarian cancer screening, and it is approved by FDA. So first we will look at what is risk of ovarian malignancy algorithm. It is Roma. So it is a score based on 2 serum biomarkers, which are CA-125 and HE4, with a proposed sensitivity of around 92 to 94%. And it is approved by FDA in 2011. But the most important point is, this is only approved for preoperative triaging of the patient with pelvic mass, and it is not approved or useful for ovarian cancer screening. So what are the other modalities that are other scores or other algorithms that are available? One more, the other thing is OVA1. It is a blood test approved by FDA. It is the first blood test approved by FDA. And it is a multivariate index of 5 biomarkers like CA-125, apolipoprotein A1, beta-2 microglobulin, transferrin, and prealbumin. And when you see, CA-125 and beta-2 microglobulin are usually increased in ovarian tumors, and all the other 3, they usually decrease in ovarian tumors. And depending on their levels, algorithmic score is given, and any score above 5 in a premenopausal lady is taken as abnormal, and any score more than 4.4 in a postmenopausal woman is taken as abnormal. And the second generation test, similar to OVA1, is OVA2 or OVERA, where beta-2 microglobulin and prealbumin are replaced by FSH and HE4. So by doing this, so the test can be similarly interpreted in premenopausal and postmenopausal women. So in this particular this thing, a single cutoff point of 5 is proposed. So anything above 5 should be taken as risk of malignancy, and both OVA1 and OVA2, they are predictive markers and they are not absolute markers. So they will guide you whether to go ahead with the staging laparotomy or not, but they don't prove or rule out any cancer. So the most important thing is all the three that we have discussed till now, they are useful only in triaging the patient with a pelvic mass. They are not useful or approved for screening of the patient of a general risk or high risk patient. But there is one algorithm which is risk of ovarian cancer algorithm ROCA. It is based on the woman's age, CA125, and serial increase or change in the value of CA125. And this algorithm is proposed for screening of patients. It is being evaluated both in general risk and high risk patients. And it is evaluated in many trials like ROCA trial, GOG trial, NROS trial, UK focus trial. So this particular algorithm is being evaluated for screening of high risk or general risk patients. So the answer for this last MCQ that I'm going to discuss today is because it is using CA125 and HE4, and it is FDA approved. The false statement is it can be used in ovarian cancer screening. It can only be used in triaging the patients with ovarian cancer. So, thank you. So that is, so here we, in the regular classes, we will discuss all the important points about the every cancer, and we will be discussing about general oncology also. So Dr. Sajid, Dr. Karthik, and myself, we three will be discussing the important topics, and we will try to cover everything. So we hope that these classes will make it easy for you to crack through this super specialty surgical oncology.